Let's stop sugarcoating it. Because this world doesn't slow down for anyone, and it sure as hell won't wait for you to catch up. Success isn't something you stumble into, and it's not reserved for the lucky few who were born in the right zip code or graduated with honors from a top-tier university. It doesn't care about your childhood, your GPA, your last job title, or how impressive your resume used to look. It doesn't even care how talented you think you are. No, success, in its rawest and most consistent form, belongs to the person who can learn faster than everyone else. Not because they have more time or more resources, but because they made a decision that they will not stop evolving. Ever. That's the difference that sets the top 1% apart from everyone else. Not privilege, not genius, not some secret code hidden behind the curtain, but the choice to never stop learning, growing, absorbing, sharpening, and adapting in real time while the rest of the world chooses comfort, distraction, and delay. This audiobook, Educate Yourself Every Day, is not here to whisper in your ear and tell you everything will be okay. It's not here to motivate you with shallow slogans or empty inspiration that fades by morning. It is here to confront you with the truth, the kind of truth that slaps harder than failure and stings longer than regret. The truth that the moment you stop learning, the clock starts ticking, and every second that passes pulls you further behind the future that could have been yours. Imagine this. Two people, same starting point, same education, same opportunities. They graduate, shake the same hands, enter the same job market, and land nearly identical roles. At first glance, they are equals, driven, eager, filled with ambition, and a sense of potential so palpable you can taste it. But fast forward 5 years, and the picture couldn't be more different. One of them has multiplied their skills, elevated their position, expanded their income, and built a trajectory that bends upward. The other is still sitting in the same chair, solving the same problems, fighting the same frustrations, and quietly wondering what went wrong. But nothing mysterious happened. There was no secret advantage or lucky break. The difference was simple. One of them kept learning, while the other thought they were finished. And that is the cruel twist so many people miss. You don't fall behind in a moment. You fall behind in a mindset. In the belief that a degree is an endpoint. In the comfort of routine. In the illusion that effort is enough when growth has stopped. And by the time you realize it, the world has already moved on without you. Most people don't even know they've checked out of the learning game. They think that working hard, showing up, and doing the job is all it takes. But the truth is, hard work without growth is just repetition, motion without momentum, effort without elevation, time without transformation. And this is exactly why the top 1% keep winning. Not because they work harder, but because they work smarter. And the reason they're smarter is because they never stopped feeding their minds when everyone else got comfortable. You see, education was never supposed to end. The moment you walked out of school wasn't the end of your learning. It was the beginning of your responsibility to keep evolving. And if you let the pace of change outrun your willingness to learn, you become irrelevant, no matter how hard you try to catch up later. The future doesn't belong to the talented. It belongs to the adaptable. It belongs to those who treat their brain like a muscle, training it, stretching it, challenging it every single day, not just when they feel like it or when someone else tells them it's time, but because they've built a habit so strong it moves with the rhythm of who they are. And here's what almost no one tells you. Learning doesn't require hours. You don't need to shut down your life or vanish into textbooks. You don't need to get another degree or take on some crushing schedule. You need 10 minutes. 10 minutes a day. That's it. 10 minutes to read. 10 minutes to listen. 10 minutes to level up. 10 minutes that, done daily, will separate you from 90% of people who hit pause on their growth the moment they felt safe. And 5 years from now, that gap, it will be massive. One person will have grown into someone new, smarter, faster, more agile, more valuable. The other will be a slightly older version of who they were, with a slightly deeper rut to climb out of, and a quieter voice asking what happened to the fire they once had. That's the power of daily learning. It's not flashy, it's not Instagram-worthy, but it's lethal. It's how the most consistent winners in every industry stay ahead, even when the rules change. Because let's be honest, the game is always changing. Industries are being automated, jobs are being outsourced, technology is rewriting the playbook every year. What made you valuable yesterday might be completely irrelevant tomorrow. And if you're not upgrading yourself, no one else will do it for you. But the ones who win, they're not waiting for anyone. They're not sitting around hoping to be discovered or rescued or rewarded for past effort. They're hunting for knowledge. They're treating their brain like their most precious investment. They know that every book, every article, every conversation, every new idea is a deposit into their future. They've made learning non-negotiable. And if you want to stay in the game, if you want to win on your own terms, if you want to build a life that doesn't crumble with the next market crash or technology shift, then you have to decide right now that you will never stop learning. This audiobook isn't here to give you theories that sound nice in a classroom. It's here to give you tools that hit hard in real life. Every chapter is designed to move fast, cut deep, and give you exactly what you need to make lifelong learning a permanent part of who you are. You'll learn how to turn daily learning into a habit that sticks. You'll learn how to stay mentally sharp in a world built for distraction. You'll learn how to adapt, evolve, and expand so fast that opportunities stop passing you by and start chasing you down. You'll learn how to think like the one cent, how to build a life of momentum, not maintenance. You want examples? Look at Elon Musk. He didn't walk into aerospace as an expert. He read, researched, and trained himself until he could sit across from NASA and hold his own. Look at Warren Buffett. He still reads hundreds of pages a day because he understands that knowledge compounds. Oprah Winfrey attributes her empire to her relentless curiosity and obsession with growth. Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest athletes of all time, studied his craft so obsessively he would watch hours of game tape to find a 1% improvement, even when he was already the best. They never stopped learning, and if they didn't, what excuse do you have? So this is your line in the sand. You have two choices. You can keep doing what you've always done. You can keep consuming the same media, having the same conversations, defending the same limitations, and wondering why life feels like a treadmill that never ends. Or you can flip the switch. You can make the decision, right here and right now, to become a lifelong learner. You can turn every day into a training ground. You can choose to evolve before life forces you to. You can become the kind of person who never falls behind because you're too busy moving forward. You can build a future you're proud of, 10 minutes at a time. So here's what comes next. Every chapter in this audiobook will give you something real, something to apply, something to build, something to master. No filler, no fluff, just what works. You're not here to be entertained, you're here to change. So buckle in, get ready to level up, because the version of you who plays small, they just heard their final warning. You've been told to wait, to settle, to be realistic. But the truth is, the world isn't waiting for you to feel ready. And the life you want, it won't arrive on its own. It has to be built, brick by brick, lesson by lesson, choice by choice. And the moment you decide to learn daily, to evolve endlessly, you stop being someone who waits for the future and start becoming someone who creates it. This audiobook, Educate Yourself Every Day, brought to you by Booksounds Better You, isn't here to motivate you. It's here to wake you up. So let's create something unforgettable, starting now. Chapter 1, The Mindset of Lifelong Learning. There's a reason some people seem to advance in every area of life, why they always find a way to rise, evolve, and succeed, while others, despite trying just as hard, remain stuck in the same place for years. And it's not luck, and it's not intelligence, and it's not even opportunity. The real difference, the one that truly separates those who thrive from those who stall, is how they think about learning, not as a one-time event, but as a way of life. Most people treat education like a task with a finish line. They believe once you've graduated, once you've received your diploma and moved your tassel, you're done. Mission accomplished. Learning complete. The books close, the testing ends, and now it's time to work, earn, settle in. But this mindset is what quietly robs millions of people of their potential. Because while they think they've arrived, what they've actually done is slow down just as life starts speeding up. The moment you stop learning is the moment you begin to fall behind. And here's what makes it so dangerous. You don't feel it at first. You still show up, you still work hard, you still stay busy. But while you're doing the same thing you did last year, the world is sprinting forward. New technology emerges, industries shift, old skills lose value, and the people who stay mentally stuck fall behind without realizing it, until they look up and the opportunity is gone. That's the trap most people fall into. They believe their degree is enough. They assume what they already know will carry them the rest of the way. But in today's world, standing still isn't neutral. It's moving backwards. Because while 99% of people stop actively learning after they leave school, the top one, the ones who stay in demand, stay valuable, stay sharp, they never stopped. They treat learning like oxygen. They feed their minds daily. They don't need a classroom, a certificate, or someone to assign them homework. They understand that learning is not a season. It's a permanent mindset. If you want to join that 1%, you have to see what they see. That every single day is a chance to upgrade who you are. That staying the same in a world that never stops changing is the fastest way to become irrelevant. And that growth doesn't happen automatically. It happens intentionally when you commit to it and never stop. And here's what makes the mindset of lifelong learning so powerful. It changes the way you respond to everything, especially effort, especially failure, especially feedback. Most people are held hostage by a belief that their intelligence, their talent, their ability is fixed, that they are either good at something or they're not. They say things like, "I've never been a math person," or "I'm just not creative," or "I can't learn tech stuff." And they wear those statements like truth, not realizing they're just beliefs they've repeated long enough to become walls. So they avoid new challenges. They stick to what they know. They stay safe and they stay stuck. But the 1%, they think differently. They understand that intelligence can expand, that talent can be developed, that every skill they admire in someone else was once unfamiliar. And so instead of saying, "I'm not good at this," they say, "I'm not good at this yet." That tiny word changes everything, because it transforms limitation into possibility. It shifts the mind from judgment to growth. That's not motivational fluff. That's neuroscience. It's psychology. It's been proven again and again. People with a growth mindset, the belief that they can improve, learn, and adapt, perform better, rebound faster, and stay more resilient over the long term. They're not afraid of effort. They embrace it. They're not ashamed of mistakes. They study them. They don't avoid hard things. They look for them because they know that discomfort is where development lives. That's the thinking of the 1%. That's the mindset that turns average into excellence. And what fuels that mindset more than anything? Curiosity. The most successful people in the world aren't just disciplined. They're endlessly curious. They ask questions others are too tired or too proud to ask. They dig beneath the surface. They wonder why things work the way they do, and they chase the answers. Curiosity is the quiet force behind every breakthrough you've ever admired. It's what made Elon Musk learn rocket science on his own. It's what drives Warren Buffett to read hundreds of pages every single day. It's what pushed Steve Jobs to combine design, technology, and intuition into something the world had never seen. And it's what most people lose by the time they hit adulthood. As children, we're naturally curious. We ask hundreds of questions a day. We explore. We experiment. But over time, society tells us to stop. We're told that asking too many questions makes us annoying, that not knowing something is embarrassing, that it's better to nod and stay silent than to speak up and admit you don't understand. And so, our curiosity dies. We stop seeking. We stop stretching. We shrink into what we already know. But the people who keep growing, who keep rising, who keep evolving, they never stop asking. They question assumptions. They study greatness. They look at someone doing something impressive, and they don't just say, "Wow." They ask how. And they keep digging until they figure it out. So if you want to build that 1% edge, you need to rekindle that part of you, the curious part. The part that wants to know more, see more, become more. Because curiosity is more than a personality trait. It's a skill. And the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Now, let's talk about the biggest barrier to growth, one that stops more people than lack of time, money, or access ever could: fear of failure. Most people don't avoid learning because they're lazy. They avoid it because they're afraid. Afraid of getting it wrong. afraid of looking foolish, afraid of realizing how much they don't know. And so they stay in their comfort zone, not because they're comfortable, but because it feels safer than being exposed. Safer than admitting they don't have all the answers. But here's what the top performers know. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the path to it. Every expert was once a disaster. Every master was once fumbling through the basics. The only difference between them and the ones who stayed average is that they kept going. They didn't stop when it got hard. They didn't run when it got awkward. They saw every mistake as a lesson and every setback as a signal to adjust. So if you're going to fail, and you will, if you're doing anything that matters, fail forward, fail fast, and fail with intention. Ask yourself not, why did this happen to me? But what did this teach me? Because every time you do that, failure loses its power. It becomes your teacher instead of your trap. And the glue that holds all of this together, the mindset, the curiosity, the courage to fail, is discipline. Because it doesn't matter how inspired you are if you only take action when it's convenient. It doesn't matter how much potential you have if you wait for motivation to show up and push you. The people who separate themselves, who outperform 90% of their peers, aren't the ones with the best resources. They're the ones with the strongest routines. They read every day, they reflect, they study, even when they don't feel like it, even when they're tired, even when there's something easier to do. They've made learning part of who they are, not just something they do when it's trending. That's the level you need to reach, where it's automatic, where it's built into your day like brushing your teeth or eating breakfast, where skipping it feels wrong, because 99% of people will stop learning once school ends. They'll coast on what they know, they'll defend their comfort zone, and they'll wonder why their life doesn't change. But the 1%? They'll keep learning, keep stretching, keep evolving. And in 5 years, when the world looks even more different than it does today, and everyone is scrambling to keep up, those few who never stopped growing will be ready. They won't just survive, they'll lead. This is the truth most people avoid, but you don't have to be most people. Because once you understand that learning is your greatest advantage and you commit to never stopping, the world no longer decides your future. You do. So decide now. Stay average with the 99%, or rise relentlessly with the 1%. Your future is waiting, but only if you're willing to keep growing toward it. Chapter 2. The Power of Reading in Books. What if I told you that the most valuable mentorship, the greatest breakthroughs, and the deepest personal transformations you'll ever experience are already within reach, not locked behind a gate, not hidden in some secret circle of privilege, but sitting silently on shelves waiting to be opened? Books are not just pages. They're voices. They're doors. They are the living thoughts of extraordinary people, captured, preserved, and offered to anyone who's willing to listen with their eyes. And the moment you begin to truly understand this, you begin to see that reading isn't a hobby. It's a form of time travel. It's the ability to sit across from geniuses, titans, visionaries, and listen to them speak without ever having to earn an invitation. Right now, there are people discovering their next big idea, their next reinvention, their next level, not from networking events or online courses or viral videos, but from the quiet, consistent habit of reading. While others are lost in digital noise, drowning in distraction, there are individuals using books like weapons, cutting through confusion, gaining clarity, and making decisions from a deeper well of knowledge than most will ever access. And that's the difference. Not education in the formal sense. Not a degree hanging on a wall or a lecture heard once and forgotten, but education you seek out, learning you pursue, knowledge you apply. That's what changes everything. And books are the most direct, most affordable, and most powerful tool you've been ignoring. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be connected. You don't need to be handed anything. You need only one thing, an unshakable commitment to grow. And once you have that, a single book can shift your entire life. Not because of the words alone, but because of what those words spark in you. A book doesn't hand you a result. It hands you a lens. It trains your thinking. It shifts your perception. And sometimes that shift is all you need. But it's not just about reading anything. It's about how you read, why you read. It's about intention. Because reading without purpose is like walking without direction. You might be moving, but you're not getting anywhere. When you read to grow, you're not just absorbing information, you're building perspective. You're crafting better questions. You're developing sharper thinking. And the more you do it, the more you realize this isn't about knowing more than others. It's about knowing yourself more deeply and navigating the world with a level of awareness most people never develop. Some of the most driven people on the planet, the ones who seem to predict where things are going before anyone else sees it coming. The ones who continue to adapt, evolve, and innovate while others struggle to keep up. They all share one quiet discipline. They read. Not because someone told them to. Not because it's fashionable, but because they've seen the return firsthand. Because they've experienced the difference between thinking with borrowed assumptions and thinking with sharpened clarity. Reading expands you in ways you can't fake. You start noticing things others miss. You begin connecting dots no one else sees. You learn how to step outside your own head and walk through someone else's thoughts. And when that becomes a habit, it's no longer about consuming content. It's about becoming someone different, someone better, someone who can lead when others are lost. The most powerful thing about books is they don't care who you are today. They only care who you're willing to become. They don't ask about your resume. They don't check your background. They simply wait, silently, patiently, until the moment you decide to start turning the page. And once you do, if you read with your full attention, with humility, with urgency, the right book at the right time can be more than helpful. It can be catalytic. But if you're going to use books to grow, you also have to learn how to choose wisely. Not all information is created equal, and not all books are worth your time. It's not about volume, it's about depth. Reading 50 books in a year might impress people, but reading 5 books and letting them change how you think, how you work, how you live, that's where the power is. Sometimes you'll need insight. Sometimes you'll need inspiration. Sometimes you'll need instruction. And sometimes you'll need to escape into imagination. Reading should stretch you, not lull you. It should challenge what you think you know. It should open doors you didn't even know existed. And the kind of reading that creates transformation doesn't always come with highlights and summaries. It comes with reflection. It comes with sitting in silence after a sentence and asking yourself, what does this mean for me? It comes with underlining a phrase and feeling it echo through your own life. It comes with reading not to finish a chapter, but to finish a version of yourself you've outgrown. Some people will tell you they don't have time to read, but those same people scroll for hours. They binge watch noise. They drift from screen to screen without direction. It's not that they don't have time. It's that they haven't made a decision. And that's the point. Reading isn't about time. It's about priority. It's about recognizing that your mind is your greatest tool and that books are the sharpening stone. Even 20 minutes a day, if done with intention, can create more change in your life than years of passive consumption. What matters is not whether you finish the book quickly. What matters is whether the book finishes something in you, whether it ends a cycle of small thinking, whether it breaks a mental habit that's been holding you back, whether it dares you to reach for something more. The people who grow, really grow, aren't the ones who wait to be taught. They're the ones who go searching. They're the ones who build reading into their routine, not as an obligation, but as a practice. They carve out the time, they protect the habit, and eventually it becomes part of them, not just something they do, but something that shapes who they are. There are books that will help you master your habits, books that will rewire your beliefs, books that will teach you how to speak, how to lead, how to heal, how to start again. And once you start discovering them, you'll wonder why no one ever told you earlier that your greatest breakthroughs would come quietly, privately, in the pages of something you could hold in your hands. Reading isn't just a gateway to knowledge. It's a gateway to identity. It's where you begin to redefine what's possible, not just in theory, but in action. It's where you see someone else's story and realize it can also be yours. So if you've been waiting for someone to guide you, to push you, to hand you the blueprint, stop waiting. Open a book, open 5, search for the voice that speaks to you. Read slowly, read fiercely. And when something resonates, stop and let it land. The world is filled with people who skim through ideas, who look for shortcuts, who say they already know enough. But if you can train yourself to go deeper, to read with hunger, to reflect with honesty, and to apply what you learn with urgency, then you'll begin building something no one can take away from you. A mind that can weather anything, a spirit that keeps expanding, a future that doesn't depend on anyone else to unlock it. You don't need to read for hours, but you do need to read with purpose, because the person who reads not just to remember, but to become, is already halfway to becoming someone others will never forget. So the next time you reach for your phone in a moment of boredom, ask yourself what kind of person you're becoming in that moment. Are you escaping or expanding? Are you consuming or creating? Are you numbing yourself or sharpening your edge? Because a book is always within reach. And sometimes just one paragraph, read at the right time with the right level of awareness, is all it takes to change everything. If you truly want to lead, to think clearly when others hesitate, to grow when others stay still, then don't wait for change. Read your way into it. Because books don't just teach you how the world works, they teach you how to rewrite your own role in it. And once you realize that, you'll never see reading as a task again. You'll see it as a key, and your life as the lock it was always meant to open. Chapter 3: The Power of Consistency and Small Daily Habits. Have you ever looked at your effort? How much time you're putting in? How many goals you've set? How often you've told yourself you're all in, and still felt like the results just aren't coming fast enough? Like you're pushing, grinding, showing up, but progress still drips like a slow faucet when you were hoping for a flood? You might even begin to question everything. You start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're missing some crucial insight, or if you're just not built for success in the way others are. But here's the real reason, and it's one most people never even realize. You've been trained to chase big moments instead of building small movements. You've been conditioned to wait for lightning strikes instead of learning how to build a fire. Because in a world obsessed with instant wins and overnight breakthroughs, the quiet truth is hard to hear. The most powerful force behind every lasting success is consistency, not motivation, not talent, not massive effort in short bursts. Consistency. It's easy to believe that success comes from intensity, that if you want to change your life, you need to flip everything upside down, work all night, burn the ships, and go all in with a dramatic overhaul. But that kind of thinking burns people out faster than it builds them up. That kind of approach is exactly why so many people start strong and quit early. Because intensity is seductive, but it's not sustainable. What moves the needle isn't how loud you roar, it's how long you last. And the people who go furthest in life aren't the ones who take the biggest steps once. They're the ones who take small steps every day without fail, without applause, without needing to be reminded why they started. Success is never about one day of doing everything right. It's about doing the right thing for so many days in a row that eventually the world has no choice but to take notice. But by then, you don't even need the world's recognition anymore, because you've already become someone stronger, sharper, more capable than the version of you that started. We glamorize the finish line. We idolize the big moment. But we forget that behind every win that looks sudden is a long trail of days that were quiet, hard, and unseen. We fall for the myth of the overnight success, but no one wakes up great. They just wake up and keep going. And that's where the gap is. Most people aren't failing because they're not good enough. They're failing because they give up when they don't see results fast enough. But if you step back, if you zoom out, if you understand the principle that governs all growth, you'll see that what looks slow in the moment is building speed behind the scenes. You're not stuck. You're just stacking. And the stack takes time. The secret is found in the habits you build when no one's watching. Everyone loves to dream big, and dreaming is good. Ambition is necessary. But what derails most people is they become so focused on the scale of the dream that they forget how to start the climb. Big goals are intoxicating, but they can also paralyze. When the mountain looks too high, we stare instead of stepping. And so we wait. We wait for more energy, more time, more confidence. And while we wait, the opportunity slips further away. But small habits? Small habits are the latter. They give you something you can do today, Not next month, not next year. Right now. Something so small it feels almost pointless, until it isn't. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't sound impressive, but stack that for a month and you've consumed wisdom that can reshape your thinking. Do that for a year, and your knowledge base grows beyond what most people touch in a decade. 10 push-ups a day doesn't sound like a workout, but over time, it changes your posture, your strength, your identity. Writing a few words a day might feel like a whisper, but that whisper becomes a voice, and that voice becomes a message. Small acts compound. That's the math of progress. But there's a catch. The habits that matter most don't give you fireworks right away. That's why most people quit them. They walk into the gym once and walk out expecting a transformation. They eat clean for a week and expect their body to shift. They meditate for 3 days and wonder why their anxiety still spikes. When the payoff isn't instant, they call it failure and fall back into what's familiar. But those who understand the long game, the ones who decide to build instead of bounce, to repeat instead of restart, those are the ones who rise. Because habits aren't built in breakthroughs. They're built in boredom. They're built in repetition. They're built when you do the thing again and again and again till the world stops being surprised that you're still doing it and starts wondering how they can be more like you. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think success depends on willpower, that they have to be strong every single day, that they have to fight themselves every time. That self-discipline is this brutal force you have to conjure up like magic. But willpower is weak. It's emotional. It burns out. The longer you lean on it, the more it drains you. The most disciplined people you've ever met aren't using willpower anymore. They've outgrown it. Because they don't rely on decisions. They rely on systems. They've designed routines that make the right action the easy one. They don't debate with themselves about whether they'll do the thing. They just do it. Their environment supports them. Their time is structured. Their habits are automated. And because of that, they're not fighting to win every day. They're just showing up and letting the system carry them forward. So if you want to become that version of yourself, stop hoping for more motivation. Start engineering your day to support the person you're trying to become. Prepare your space the night before. Tie your new habit to something you already do. Track your streak. Reinforce the identity. Make it frictionless. Make it inevitable. Because the truth is, you don't need more intensity. You need more consistency. You don't need to do more. You need to do it longer. You don't need more will. You need more structure. And here's where it all comes together. The small actions that seem meaningless today are exactly the ones that build a different future. They're the bricks, the scaffolding, the frame. And if you keep laying them with patience, with purpose, with grit, you won't just move forward, you'll accelerate. You'll gain momentum. And when you have momentum, you don't need motivation anymore. You just need to keep showing up. Because that's what the top performers do. They don't chase energy. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They move regardless. They execute regardless. And that's what places them in a category others rarely reach. Not because they're the loudest or the flashiest, but because they kept going after others stopped. They stayed in motion while others made excuses. And that mindset, that behavior, that rhythm, that's what earns them the edge. That's what puts them in the 1%. You don't need to do what everyone else is doing. You just need to do what you said you'd do. Over and over, quietly, precisely, day by day. And while everyone else is stuck trying to get back on track, you'll be too far ahead to look back. So stop trying to win by force. Win by rhythm. Win by routine. Win by being the one who doesn't break the chain. Your breakthrough won't be born in a moment of inspiration. It'll be built in the 1,000 quiet choices no one sees but you. Because the future doesn't belong to the one who starts fastest. It belongs to the one who doesn't stop. So stay with it, hold the line, and let consistency become your legacy. Chapter 4, The Hidden Power of Focus. How to cut through the noise and achieve anything. Have you ever started a day with the fire of ambition burning in your chest, your to-do list full of important tasks, your mind locked on success, only to look up hours later and realize you've accomplished almost nothing? The time disappeared into thin air. You weren't lazy. You weren't idle. You were just distracted. And you're not alone. This isn't a personal failure. This is a modern epidemic. The world we live in isn't just filled with distractions, it is engineered to distract you. Every app on your phone, every social media feed, every email ping has been meticulously crafted by some of the brightest minds in psychology and neuroscience to do one thing: hijack your attention. While you believe you're making choices about where your mind goes, the truth is far more unsettling. Your focus is under siege. And if you don't learn how to defend it, if you don't seize back control of your attention, then achieving anything meaningful becomes almost impossible. You might believe that success belongs to the most intelligent or the most talented, but that's a lie you've been sold. The real winners, the people at the top of their game, they are the ones who know how to focus. They've mastered the ability to shut out the noise, to protect their mental space, and to channel every ounce of their energy into what truly matters. It's not genius, it's discipline. It's not luck, it's focus. And it's rare. If you want to break through, if you're tired of spinning your wheels and getting nowhere, then you need to understand this hidden power. Let's start by tearing down the myth of multitasking. You've been told it's a skill, something to brag about. Job applications praise it, and people wear it like a badge of honor, but science tells a very different story. Multitasking doesn't make you more efficient, it makes you weaker. It fragments your thinking. Each time you switch tasks, your brain pays a tax, a cost in cognitive performance. Studies show that task switching can slash productivity by as much as 40%, and it's worse than just wasting time. Frequent multitasking actually lowers your IQ. It spikes your stress. It damages your ability to focus deeply, to think critically, to solve hard problems. Think about the last time you were deep into something important. Maybe you were writing, solving, building, really in the zone. Then your phone buzzed. You didn't even check it, but the vibration alone tugged at your thoughts. And just like that, the mental flow shattered. Research tells us it takes over 23 minutes to get back into that deep state once you've been pulled out. Now imagine this happening 10, 20, 50 times a day. It's no wonder most people are constantly busy, yet feel like they're getting nowhere. If you want to rise above the noise, if you truly want to belong to that rare 1% who operate at an elite level, then stop multitasking. Choose instead to single task. Focus on one thing at a time. Pour your entire presence into it. When you work like that, fully immersed, undisturbed, you accomplish more in 1 hour than most people do in an entire distracted day. But multitasking isn't your only enemy. There's a thief that follows you everywhere, stealing your time in plain sight: digital distraction. Your phone, yes, that marvel of technology, is a double-edged sword. It connects you, informs you, entertains you, but it also owns you. The average person checks their phone over 150 times a day. That's once every 6 minutes. Every buzz, every notification, every scroll down a feed is a cut to your attention. And the more you bleed focus, the weaker your output becomes. It's not just your phone. It's the tabs you leave open on your laptop, the email you check obsessively, the background TV that hums while you work. These tiny interruptions are like drips of water on rock. They seem harmless, but over time, they wear down your brain's ability to do deep, meaningful work. You end the day feeling drained, but oddly unaccomplished. Want to stop that cycle? Build a fortress for your focus. Turn off the non-essential notifications. Your phone doesn't need to buzz every time someone likes your photo. Use Do Not Disturb. Put your device in airplane mode when you need to go deep. Close all tabs that aren't directly related to your task. Designate set times to check messages and emails. Stop being reactive. Start being deliberate. You can even use structured techniques to train your focus. One of the best is the Pomodoro technique. 50 minutes of deep, focused work, followed by a 10-minute break. This rhythm keeps your mind sharp and protects you from burnout. It's simple, it's effective, and it will reclaim hours of lost productivity each day, hours you can reinvest into building the life you dream about. Now, let's talk about what happens when you go deeper. This isn't just about avoiding distraction. It's about achieving the state of deep work, a mental zone where your mind is so focused, so aligned, so immersed that you become unstoppable. Deep work is where magic happens. It's where books get written, businesses get built, breakthroughs get made. And it's not reserved for the geniuses. It's reserved for the disciplined. To enter this state, you need rituals. High performers all have them. Maybe it's the way they make coffee. Maybe it's a playlist they listen to. Maybe it's the way they set their desk. These signals tell the brain, it's time to go deep. Set a clear intention before you begin. Vague goals like, I'll work on my project, won't cut it. Get precise. Say, I'll finish the first 1,000 words of my proposal. Then block your time. Give yourself 1 hour, no more, no less. Why? Because time expands to fill the space you give it. When you limit your time, you force your brain to sharpen. Once you build this muscle, you'll find yourself doing in 2 focused hours what used to take you an entire distracted day, and you'll wonder how you ever lived any other way. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful and most difficult skills in the world of focus: saying no. It sounds simple, but in practice, it's a battlefield. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are robbing yourself of time for what really matters. The world is full of noise, full of requests, full of invitations to drift off course. But the top performers, the people who build empires, who write legacy-defining work, they say no with confidence. They don't attend every meeting. They don't reply to every email. They don't let their calendar fill with other people's agendas. They protect their time like it's gold, because it is. They avoid toxic people, energy vampires who drain focus and enthusiasm. They create boundaries, not just with others, but with themselves. Ask yourself, how often do you let distractions in just because you didn't want to be rude? How often do you open your phone because you felt bored for 2 seconds? Saying no isn't about being cold. It's about being committed to your goals, your growth, your greatness. And here's the truth that should shake you. The world is divided into 2 kinds of people: the distracted many and the focused few. The many will go through life reacting to whatever grabs their attention, wondering why their dreams never become reality. The few? They take control. They decide where their focus goes, and they get results. If you're ready to rise, to stop surviving and start dominating, then you must become one of the few. Make the commitment. Reclaim your mind. Cut through the noise. Say no to everything that doesn't serve your future. And focus, relentlessly, courageously, obsessively. Your best work, your greatest achievements, your boldest life, they're waiting on the other side of distraction. So ask yourself, will you continue giving away your attention to the lowest bidder? Or will you stand up, take it back, and build the extraordinary life that only comes to those who master the hidden power of focus? Chapter 5, The Secret Weapon of High Achievers, The Art of Self-Discipline. You've felt it before, that powerful wave of motivation that surges through your entire being and makes you want to change your life overnight. Maybe it struck after watching an inspiring video, reading a deeply moving book, or hearing a story of someone else's success. You felt the fire. You told yourself, this time, I'm going to do it for real. And for a little while, you did. You got up early. You worked out. You started that long postponed project. You stayed focused. You said no to distractions. You felt unstoppable. But then, almost imperceptibly, something shifted. One morning, you woke up a bit tired. One day off won't hurt, you told yourself. But one day became 2, then 3. Before you even realized it, you were back where you started, disappointed, frustrated, and questioning your own willpower. That familiar cycle had returned, and with each failure, your self-trust eroded just a little more. Here's the raw truth about motivation. It's unreliable. It's not designed to last. It arrives in bursts, lifts you momentarily, and then vanishes when you need it most. And this is exactly why so many people never reach long-term success. They put all their hope in a feeling that was never built to sustain action. They rely on motivation when what they desperately need is discipline. Discipline is the invisible engine that powers every high achiever. It's the quiet force that gets you to show up even when you're exhausted, to stick to your commitments when distractions are screaming, and to work hard when no one's watching. While most people are still waiting for their next dose of motivation, the disciplined ones are already moving forward. Rain or shine, inspired or not. That's the difference. This chapter unpacks the deep, often misunderstood truth. Self-discipline isn't just helpful, it's everything. If you've ever wondered why some people continue to build, grow, and achieve while others tread water year after year, this is the answer. The secret isn't genius, luck, or even timing. It's the art of discipline. especially when motivation has disappeared. First, let's break a myth. Most people are taught that motivation is the key to success, that if you just get inspired enough, everything will click into place. But that belief sets you up for failure. Motivation is fickle. It's inconsistent. It depends on your mood, your environment, and countless other things outside your control. One day you feel unstoppable. The next, you're overwhelmed, discouraged, or just plain tired. Motivation is like a spark, bright but brief. It's not what keeps the fire burning. That's why people start strong and finish weak. They think they've lost motivation, so they search for more, new books, new speeches, new success stories. But they keep hitting the same wall. The problem isn't a lack of inspiration. The problem is their dependency on it. The truth is, success has nothing to do with how motivated you feel. It has everything to do with what you do when you're not motivated at all. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is the skill to keep going when you feel like stopping. It's the unglamorous daily grind that separates the doers from the dreamers. And if you keep waiting for motivation to strike, you'll be stuck forever. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. It works like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And if you stop using it, it weakens. At its core, discipline is about choosing long-term gains over short-term comfort. The brain, by default, craves instant gratification. That's why it feels better in the moment to sleep in instead of getting up, to scroll instead of study, to binge instead of build. Your brain isn't interested in your long-term goals. It's interested in right now. But here's the powerful truth. You can rewire your brain. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen the mental wiring that makes it easier next time. The first few times are hard, but the more you practice, the more it becomes second nature. Start small. Build consistency. You wouldn't walk into a gym and lift 300 pounds on day one. In the same way, you won't become deeply disciplined overnight. But if you commit, you will become stronger than you ever imagined. Excuses? They're the biggest enemies of discipline. Every excuse you make, I'm too tired, I'll start tomorrow, it's just one time, is you training your brain to normalize quitting. Disciplined people operate by a different rule. No excuses. They don't negotiate with laziness. They don't ask themselves whether they feel like it today. They just do the thing. The best way to eliminate excuses is to create a non-negotiable mindset. You don't debate whether you're going to show up. You show up. You don't wait to be in the mood. You act regardless. If it's on your schedule, it gets done. No discussions, no delays, no drama. One powerful trick: don't think, just move. The longer you sit with the decision, the more room you give your mind to rationalize inaction. Cut off that internal debate. Trust the plan. Trust the process. Now let's talk about pain. Because whether you're disciplined or not, you're going to feel pain. If you lack discipline, you'll feel the sting of regret, of missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, wasted time. And that kind of pain is deep. It lingers. It haunts. But the pain of discipline, it's temporary. It's the soreness after the workout, the early morning alarm, the late night effort. And it always pays off. Every moment you choose discipline over ease, you're investing in a better future. Every choice compounds. The gains may not come instantly, but they always come. So ask yourself honestly, what kind of pain are you willing to live with? The short-term pain of effort or the long-term pain of regret? Discipline is not just about work ethic, it's about freedom. The more disciplined you are now, the more options you unlock later. Every time you push through, every time you resist distraction, every time you stay focused, you're building power. Power over your time, power over your mind, power over your life. Starting now, make the shift. Stop leaning on motivation. Stop giving yourself an out. Stop allowing failure to become a habit. Choose to be the kind of person who shows up, no matter what. Because when the dust settles, success won't belong to the most gifted or the most lucky. It will belong to the most disciplined, the ones who showed up, stayed the course, and did the work. Chapter 6, The Ultimate Power Move, Mastering Consistency to Dominate Life. You've felt that surge of momentum before, the fire that sparks when you begin something new. Maybe it was a workout program, a promising business venture, or a self-improvement habit you were sure would stick this time. For those first few days, you were unstoppable. Your energy was electric, your mind sharp, your will unbreakable. You declared, "This is it. This time, it's different. But then, life got noisy. You got pulled in 5 directions. The results didn't come fast enough. The spark dimmed. One skipped day became 2, and before you knew it, another dream had dissolved into dust. Now pause and ask yourself this. How many things have you started only to abandon them midway? Count them. What if you had simply finished half of them? Where would your life be right now? How much farther ahead would you stand? It's a sobering thought, but it's necessary. Because here's the truth, most people dodge their entire lives. Consistency isn't just a helpful trait, it's the ultimate power move. The dividing line between those who build extraordinary lives and those who stay stuck in circles is not talent, it's not intelligence, it's not even luck. It's the relentless ability to show up every single day, even when you're tired, even when you're uninspired, even when the progress is invisible. You want to know why most people fail? It's not because they're incapable, it's because they quit too early. They wanted the trophy on day 1. They expected fireworks after a week. When they didn't see immediate proof of success, they stopped. But true achievement doesn't shout on day 1. It whispers over months of quiet grind. It comes to those who outlast their excuses. When you master consistency, you stop gambling on outcomes and start engineering them. You stop hoping, you start building. If you've ever struggled to stick with something long enough to see it transform your life, buckle in. This chapter is not a pep talk, it's a manual. And by the time we're done, you won't just understand why consistency is the sharpest tool in your arsenal. You'll know how to wield it like a weapon in every area of your life. Most people chase success by sprinting. They push hard for a week, maybe a month, believing they have to go all in. 18-hour days, extreme diets, brutal sacrifice. But here's the real equation. Success is not the result of occasional intensity. It's the compound effect of small, deliberate actions done consistently over time. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's lethal. Imagine 2 people. One reads for 20 minutes a day, the other doesn't. After a day, there's no difference. After a week, still barely noticeable. But after a year, one has absorbed the equivalent of dozens of books. After 5 years, one has leveled up in knowledge, while the other is anchored to the same mental shoreline. The same applies to your body, your finances, your relationships. Small actions, repeated daily, don't just stack, they multiply. Here's the kicker. If you improve by just 1% every single day, the math doesn't lie. You won't be twice as good in a year. You'll be 37 times better. That's the power people underestimate. They give up before the real magic compounds. And why? Because they want payoff without patience. They crave lightning bolts, not the long burn. But the truth? The massive breakthroughs only happen after you've done the mundane things, consistently, without applause, without recognition, and without quitting. That's where the separation happens. That's where the 1% are born, not from luck, but from repetition. And if you're still waiting on motivation to carry you, understand this, it won't. One of the greatest lies ever told is that motivation is what drives success. It's not. Motivation is a spark. Consistency is the engine. You're not always going to feel fired up. You're not always going to be in the mood. There will be days when you're exhausted, disheartened, uninspired, but your actions can't bow to your emotions. If they do, your results will always be at the mercy of your mood. And that's no way to build anything lasting. The high performers? They don't rely on feelings. They rely on systems. They don't wait to feel like it. They decide what must be done, and then they do it, rain or shine. That's the shift. You stop asking, do I want to do this? And start asking, what needs to be done, no matter how I feel? Here's a simple but brutal truth. Your life is a reflection of what you consistently do, not what you occasionally try. And if you're tired of starting over, then stop giving up. The smartest way to break free from the roller coaster of motivation is to eliminate decisions altogether. Create a schedule. Lock it in. Instead of saying, I'll work out 3 times a week, say, I move my body every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. It's non-negotiable. It's not up for debate. That's how consistency wins, by removing the doorways to procrastination. Want another weapon? Use the 2-day rule. Never skip twice. Miss 1 day? Fine. Life happens. But 2? That's how habits die. 2 becomes 3, and 3 becomes never again. And finally, redefine success. Don't measure it by big leaps. Measure it by your presence. If your goal is to write a book, don't count the pages, count the days you showed up. That's the heartbeat of consistency. That's how you make progress inevitable. Now let's talk about habits. Most people try to overhaul their lives overnight. They go from 0 to 100, but willpower is a muscle, and it fatigues fast. The key to building habits that stick is to make them too easy to fail. Want to read more? Start with one page. Want to get fit? Begin with one push-up. Small is sustainable. Small becomes big. Attach new habits to old ones. You drink coffee every morning? Cool. Read 5 minutes right after. You brush your teeth at night? Do 10 squats after. Habits are easier when they ride on the back of routines you already own. And don't underestimate visual cues. Want to drink more water? Keep a full bottle in front of you. Want to practice guitar? Leave it out. Visible. Unavoidable. The easier it is to see, the harder it is to forget. Track your wins. Put a giant X on the calendar every day you show up. And then, don't break the chain. It becomes a game, and your brain loves games. The longer your streak, the more painful it becomes to stop. Here's what you must engrave into your mindset. Success doesn't demand heroics. It demands consistency. The winners, they're not out there grinding the hardest every single day. They're showing up the most. They're doing the work again and again and again until the results have no choice but to show up too. Starting now, commit to the long game. Pick one thing, just one, and go all in, not with intensity, but with intention. Not with fire that burns out, but with a flame that never dies. Focus on daily wins. Focus on presence. And watch how small actions, stacked day after day, build a life others will call legendary. Because in the end, it all comes down to one decision. Will you live like the majority, excited at the start, lost by the middle, and defeated before the end? Or will you become part of the rare 1%, the consistent, the disciplined, the unstoppable? The future bows to the consistent. The world eventually yields to the relentless. So make your choice and then show up tomorrow like your future depends on it, because it does. Chapter 7, The Hidden Formula of the 1%, How to Think and Act Like Ultra-Successful People. Have you ever looked at someone who seems to glide effortlessly through life, wealthy, accomplished, admired, and wondered, what do they know that I don't? Why do some people seem to rise like rockets, while others, despite years of effort, stay trapped in the same cycle of struggle? It's a question that nags at even the most determined minds. Because if success were purely about intelligence, money, or social status, then every genius and every heir to fortune would be dominating the game. But they're not. And deep down, you already know that. The truth is, the most successful people, the top 1%, don't live by the same mental playbook as the rest. They don't follow the path society paints as safe or normal. They don't wait for permission or validation. And they sure don't let fear, fatigue, or failure dictate the direction of their lives. They think differently. They move differently. They operate differently. And what separates them from everyone else isn't luck or magic. It's mindset. A rare but learnable mindset that empowers them to play life like a master strategist plays chess, 10 moves ahead. Most people unknowingly follow a script that keeps them average. A script taught by well-meaning teachers, handed down by cautious parents, reinforced by peers who are also trapped in the same loop. This script whispers, be realistic, don't aim too high, fit in, play it safe, work hard, and wait your turn. But the 1%, they burned that script a long time ago. They realized that following the rules written for the majority only leads to mediocre results, and so they rewrote their own. And here's the good news. You don't have to be born into privilege, attend an Ivy League school, or inherit millions to tap into this mindset. What you do need is awareness and a willingness to unlearn what's kept you small. This chapter will take you inside the mental world of the ultra-successful and show you how to begin thinking and acting in ways that shift your trajectory permanently. The first mindset shift they make is this. They think in terms of leverage, not just effort. Most people are told that if they want to get ahead, they need to work harder, wake up earlier, push longer, grind harder. And while discipline has its place, this belief alone can become a trap. Because if hard work were the only ingredient to success, then laborers, nurses, janitors, some of the hardest working people on earth would be the richest. But they're not. Because hard work without leverage is like rowing a boat with one oar. You'll move, but not far and not fast. The ultra-successful think differently. They ask, how can I get more done with less effort? That's leverage. They harness systems, tools, people, capital, and technology to multiply their output. They delegate what doesn't need their direct touch. They invest in assets that make money while they sleep. They develop high-impact skills like persuasion, leadership, or coding that yield massive results for a fraction of the time. Think of someone like Elon Musk. He's not under a car tightening bolts. He's building scalable systems, hiring brilliant minds, and raising billions to move industries. He leverages time, money, people, and vision all at once. And you can too. Once you stop measuring your worth by hours clocked and start asking, what set system could handle this for me? What investment could free me from trading time for money? This change alone can alter your financial future. But the shift doesn't stop there. The second invisible trait of the 1% is this. They make decisions based on logic, not emotion. Most people let their feelings lead. They don't start the business because fear whispers, what if you fail? They don't have the conversation that could change their life because anxiety yells, what if you're rejected? They procrastinate because they don't feel like acting today. And over time, those momentary emotions calcify into lifelong regrets. But the 1% treat emotions differently. They don't suppress them. They acknowledge them, but they don't let them take the wheel. They've trained themselves to ask, what's the wisest move here, regardless of how I feel? And then they do that. They invest in themselves, even when it's uncomfortable. They eliminate distractions, even when it's inconvenient. They take calculated risks, not because they're fearless, but because they've done the math and the upside outweighs the downside. It's not cold-heartedness, it's clarity. They know that feelings can mislead, but logic builds legacies. So the next time you hesitate, next time fear whispers or doubt creeps in, ask yourself, if I stripped away all emotion, what would I choose? Then trust that answer. Success belongs to those who move forward even when emotion pulls them back. And now, here's the final shift, perhaps the most important of all. The ultra-successful play the long game. Average minds crave speed. They want results now. They want success this month. They want comfort tonight, even if it costs them their dreams tomorrow. So they chase get-rich-quick schemes, hop from goal to goal, start and stop, abandon ship at the first sign of resistance. They prioritize pleasure over progress. And then they wonder why life feels stagnant, why their growth is stunted. But the 1%, they see life differently. They understand that real success is not an event, it's a compounding process. They're willing to build something meaningful for 5 years without applause, to invest in a vision that won't pay off for a decade, to train, study, fail, and refine quietly, while others mock or doubt them. Why? Because they know what's waiting on the other side. They've tasted the power of long-term thinking, and they've witnessed how compound growth of money, of skills, of impact outpaces everything else over time. Warren Buffett didn't become one of the world's richest men by flipping coins. He played the slow, boring, brilliant game of compounding interest. Olympic athletes train for years before a single gold medal. Iconic entrepreneurs reinvest their earnings when they could be showing off. It's not sacrifice, it's strategy. So if you want to rise above the noise, you must ask yourself, am I willing to delay gratification today to create something extraordinary tomorrow? The longer you're willing to stay in the game, the fewer people you'll be competing against. Most quit, most get bored, most settle. But if you stay the course, the edge becomes yours. Ultimately, success isn't reserved for the chosen few. It's not about talent or inheritance. It's about whether you have the courage to think differently, act differently, and persist when others fold. The hidden formula of the 1% isn't hidden at all. It's just that most people aren't willing to do what it requires. They aren't willing to rethink everything. They aren't willing to outlast the distractions, override their emotions, or sacrifice now for abundance later. But you can. If you start thinking in terms of leverage instead of labor, if you learn to make decisions rooted in strategy, not sensitivity, if you choose to play the long game while others chase crumbs, you will separate yourself so drastically from the average that success won't just be a possibility. It will be inevitable. You don't need permission. You don't need more time. You don't need to wait. You just need to make the choice to abandon average and embrace what's uncommon. So the only question that matters now is this: will you keep thinking like the crowd, or will you start thinking like the 1%? Because your life, your impact, and your future, they will all follow the path your mind sets first. If you remember nothing else, remember this: you are not meant to live a life of quiet frustration, of untapped potential, of dreams deferred. You were not born to blend into the background or settle for just enough. You were made to rise, to grow, to lead. And inside of you is the same spark the 1% once had before they became who they are. What makes the difference is the decision. Not next year, not tomorrow, now, today, this very moment. So stand tall, choose boldly, and never again allow an average mindset to write your future. It's time to think like the 1% and start becoming the person you were always meant to be. Chapter 8: The Unshakable Confidence Blueprint. How to build a mindset that commands respect and success. Let me ask you something bold, something that might sting a little. What if the only thing standing between you and the life you truly want isn't a lack of talent or resources or intelligence, but a lack of confidence? Pause for a moment. Really think about it. Every door you didn't knock on, every opportunity you let slip through your fingers, every dream you buried under excuses, each one had a common thread: hesitation. And hesitation, more often than not, is born from one thing: doubt, self-doubt. The quiet, corrosive voice inside that whispers, "You're not ready, you're not good enough, you can't handle it." Now think back to the moments in your life when everything changed for the better. When you took that leap, made that move, asked for what you deserved, or stood up when it mattered most. What was present in all of those moments? Not perfection, not certainty, confidence. Even if it was shaky, even if it lasted just long enough to hit send, say yes, or walk through the door, it was there. And it made all the difference. Here's what most people get wrong. They think confidence is a gift, something you either have or don't, something sprinkled on a lucky few, while the rest are left fumbling through life with trembling voices and unspoken dreams. That's a lie. Confidence is not a gift. It's not genetic. It's not reserved for the loudest in the room or the most charismatic in the crowd. Confidence is a skill. It's a mental muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through use, through repetition, through resistance. And if you're not actively training it, you're losing it. If you don't build it on purpose, you'll live your entire life being steered by fear, defined by others, and haunted by the possibilities you never dared to chase. But when you do build it, when you make confidence your foundation, you become unstoppable. You stop waiting for permission. You stop shrinking. You stop handing the pen of your story to anyone but yourself. By the end of this chapter, you'll not only understand how confidence works, you'll know how to build it, anchor it, and protect it, because this is the one trait that unlocks all others. You can have talent, ambition, and opportunity, but without confidence, you'll never use them. So let's begin the rebuild. First, we must tear out the roots of what's been quietly weakening you. There are confidence killers hiding in plain sight. Habits and thoughts you might not even realize are sabotaging your self-belief. And the most insidious of them all, seeking external validation. Every time you rely on someone else's approval to feel good about yourself, you give them control over your identity. You become a puppet to praise, a slave to opinion. The truth is, if your confidence depends on how many people clap for you, it will disappear the moment the applause stops. The ultra-confident, they validate themselves first. They don't need to be liked, because they've already decided to like themselves. Right alongside that is the trap of comparison. We live in a digital world of illusions, endless highlight reels designed to make you feel like you're always behind. But confidence doesn't grow by measuring yourself against someone else's best day. It grows by measuring your own progress. 1 inch forward, 1 internal win. That's where true confidence lives, in evolution, not exhibition. Then there's the silent killer most people don't even question: self-talk. The language you use when you speak to yourself. Every time you say, "I'm not ready," "I'll probably fail," "I don't deserve this," your brain listens. Your nervous system absorbs it. Your actions mirror it. If you keep planting doubt, don't be surprised when fear grows. But flip the script. Speak to yourself like a coach, like a trusted friend, like the version of you that already made it, and everything begins to shift. These thought patterns don't just hurt you, they paralyze you. But here's the good news. You're not cemented in them. Confidence can be rebuilt, rewired, reinforced, and it starts with the right formula. Real confidence isn't about puffing up your chest, pretending to know everything, or putting on a mask. It's not arrogance, it's quiet power. It's inner trust. It's the knowing that whatever happens, you'll figure it out. The first brick in that foundation? Competence. Mastery breeds confidence. When you become excellent at something, when you practice, refine, and grow a skill, confidence follows. You don't have to hype yourself up when you're prepared. Preparation is power. Whether it's business, communication, fitness, or emotional control, if you want confidence, pursue mastery. But here's the twist. You won't master anything without facing fear. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act anyway. Every time you do something uncomfortable, something scary, and come out the other side alive, your brain records the win. It learns that fear didn't destroy you, and that's how unshakable belief begins to take root. Confidence grows in discomfort, so lean in. Then there's your body, your physical presence. It matters. Your posture, your breath, your tone, these all feed back into your brain. When you stand tall, breathe deeply, and move with intention, your physiology tells your mind, I've got this. This isn't just theory, it's science. Confident body language creates confident thought. Just as important is your inner narrative. Champion-level self-talk doesn't sugarcoat, it uplifts. It reminds you of your past wins. It encourages you in the struggle. It says, I'll find a way. Confidence isn't blind optimism. It's the belief that you'll adapt, adjust, and overcome, even when the path is foggy. And perhaps most overlooked, but most powerful, keep the promises you make to yourself. Confidence grows when you trust yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and actually do it, you're building a reputation with yourself. You're proving that your word matters. And when you trust your own word, you stop needing the world's approval. Self-trust is the deepest form of confidence. Guard it fiercely. Now, let's take it even further. Let's talk about presence. Because confidence doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how others experience you. When someone truly believes in themselves, you feel it. They don't have to shout. They don't have to dominate. Their energy does the talking. Their certainty makes space, and people respect that. You want to command a room? Speak with conviction. Own your words. Don't trail off. Don't ask for permission with your tone. Be bold in your speech, even when your voice shakes. And when silence comes, let it breathe. Weak minds fear pauses. Strong ones use them to land. Want to shift how people respond to you? Stop chasing approval. The minute you stop trying to impress others, they start being impressed. Why? Because detachment is power. When you no longer need anything from anyone, your energy shifts, and that shift is magnetic. Confidence isn't something you explain, it's something you embody through your eyes, your walk, your tone, your actions. It's the armor you wear without saying a word. And here's the painful truth, one we often avoid. The world doesn't reward insecurity. It doesn't hand trophies to the timid. It doesn't open doors for those who don't knock. It recognizes those who believe in themselves enough to act, speak, try, fail, and rise again. If you don't believe in you, why should anyone else? But here's the beauty. No matter what your past looks like, no matter how long you've been silencing yourself, it's never too late to rebuild your confidence. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Confidence doesn't require flawless execution. It requires courageous intention. It's forged in the moments you decide to show up, speak up, and stand tall. Not because you feel ready, but because the cost of staying small has become too high. So now it's your turn. You can keep waiting until you feel ready, until someone else believes in you, until life hands you the perfect conditions. Or you can decide that today, right now, is the moment you begin to believe in yourself. Not in a loud performative way, but in a deep, soul-rooted way. The kind of belief that whispers, I will not be silenced. I will not be overlooked. I will not shrink to make others comfortable. You've carried potential inside you for too long. It's time to carry confidence, because when you believe in your voice, others will too. When you walk into the world with certainty, doors begin to open. So build it, live it, own it, and let your confidence become the force that changes everything. Chapter 9, The Discipline Code, how to develop the unstoppable focus and self-control that 99% of people lack. You've probably been here before. You set a goal, a bold one. Maybe it was to build a thriving business, transform your body, finally take control of your finances, or master a skill that could elevate your entire life. And in the beginning, you were on fire. Motivation surged through your veins like electricity. You planned, you dreamed. You believed this time would be different. But then something happened. Life got noisy. Distractions crept in. The world pulled your attention in 1,000 directions. You missed one day, then two. That voice in your head whispered, "It's okay, you'll start again tomorrow." And suddenly, the fire that once burned so brightly turned into a flickering ember. Days became weeks. Progress slowed, and all that excitement turned into frustration. Sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. This cycle traps millions, and not because they're lazy or broken or weak, but because they've been taught to chase the wrong thing. They've been taught to chase motivation. But here's the raw, unfiltered truth. Motivation is a liar. Motivation is unreliable. It's here 1 minute and gone the next. It can be triggered by a powerful speech or a goal-setting workshop, but it disappears when the alarm clock rings at 5 a.m. and your bed feels like the warmest place on earth. If your entire success strategy hinges on feeling inspired, you're already set up to fail. The people who build legendary businesses, sculpt world-class physiques, write bestsellers, or dominate in any field, they aren't fueled by daily bursts of excitement. They're driven by something much harder to build, but infinitely more powerful: discipline. Discipline is the muscle that moves you when your emotions beg you to stop. It's the mental armor that protects your vision from the distractions that wreck everyone else's. And the best part? It can be trained. This chapter is about rewiring your mind, reprogramming your default settings, replacing the illusion of motivation with the unstoppable force of consistency. Because once you unlock this code, you won't just set goals, you'll finish them. Let's start by confronting the addiction most people don't realize they have: the need to feel motivated before taking action. We've been conditioned to believe that emotions must align before we can move, that we must feel ready to work out, to write, to lead, to launch. So we wait and we wait and we wait until the moment never comes. But high performers, they don't wait. They act, not because they're superhuman, but because they've learned that feelings are not facts, and they've built their lives on discipline, not emotion. An elite athlete doesn't skip training because they're tired. A CEO doesn't cancel meetings because they're not in the mood. A Navy SEAL doesn't abandon a mission because they're scared. They move forward regardless, because their identity is built on doing what needs to be done, no matter what. Success isn't about how you feel, it's about what you do when you don't feel like it. And that brings us to a life-altering realization. Discipline is not punishment, it's freedom. Most people hear the word discipline and recoil. They associate it with restriction, struggle, and sacrifice. But real discipline isn't about pain, it's about liberation. It's about breaking free from the emotional roller coaster and becoming someone who does what they said they would do, consistently. And if you can start seeing discipline as your superpower instead of your burden, everything changes. You see, your brain is built to seek reward and avoid discomfort. Right now, every time you choose the easy path, scrolling social media, hitting snooze, skipping that workout, you get a dopamine hit, a tiny reward for doing the wrong thing. It's the same system that makes addiction so powerful. But here's the twist. You can retrain your brain. You can rewire your reward system to crave discipline the same way it once craved distractions. How? By flipping the script. Start linking pain to procrastination. Make skipping a habit cost you something. Tell a friend you'll send them $50 every time you miss a workout. Or post your goal online and commit to following through or facing public accountability. Now, not showing up comes with consequence, and your brain starts to take notice. Next, reframe discomfort as proof you're growing. The average person avoids discomfort like it's fire. The disciplined person welcomes it because they understand that growth doesn't come wrapped in comfort. Growth comes in sweat, resistance, fatigue, and struggle. So the next time you feel resistance, say to yourself, this is what getting stronger feels like. And most importantly, celebrate the act of discipline, not just the results. Too many people only reward outcomes. They throw a party when they lose the weight, but not when they showed up for 10 straight workouts. They feel pride when the business succeeds, but not when they worked late 5 nights in a row. But confidence grows from identity, and your identity grows from what you do daily. So start identifying as someone who follows through, someone who honors their word, someone who shows up no matter what. That identity will fuel your discipline, and your discipline will shape your destiny. Now let's go deeper. Let's build the system that makes all this automatic. Because even the most disciplined people in the world don't wake up every day relying solely on willpower. They design systems that remove emotion and eliminate excuses. They don't ask, should I go to the gym today? They just go. It's on the calendar. It's not up for debate. That's called eliminating decision fatigue. Every decision you leave to the moment becomes a battlefield. So instead, make it a rule. I train at 6 a.m. every day. I write for 1 hour after lunch. I don't skip 2 days in a row, ever. When it becomes a rule, not a choice, it becomes your baseline. And if getting started is your biggest hurdle, use the 5-minute rule. Just commit to 5 minutes. That's it, 5 minutes of writing, 5 minutes of exercise, 5 minutes of deep work, because action leads to momentum, and momentum leads to progress. Then develop a no-negotiation policy. Set a few unbreakable rules in your life, non-negotiables that define you. I never lie to myself. I do what I said I'd do, especially when it's hard. These aren't goals, they're standards, and standards shape outcomes. Finally, set up accountability triggers. Go public. Get a coach. Tell your friends. Build a system where slacking comes with visible consequences. When your integrity is on display, your discipline skyrockets. Do all of this, and discipline stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like power. It becomes who you are. And from that identity, you will build things no one else has the stamina to finish. Because in the end, success doesn't come from grand intentions or emotional highs. It comes from those tiny, invisible moments when no one is watching, when you do the hard thing anyway. The discipline code is simple, but not easy. You will be tempted to fall back into the comfort of distraction. You will be pulled toward the noise, the drama, the dopamine. But every time you say no to the easy path and yes to the path of discipline, you evolve. You have everything you need inside of you. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another podcast or another book. You need to decide. To choose the identity of someone who shows up every single day, especially when it's hard. Because when you become that person, the world opens to you. Not because it suddenly got easier, but because you got stronger. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you're meant to become. So build that bridge. Step onto it. Walk it every single day. And don't look back. Your future is waiting on the other side of your discipline. Chapter 10, The Power of Relentless Execution. How to take action like a machine and achieve in months what others take years to do. You've made the plans. You've visualized the outcome. You've written the goals in a journal, created the dream board, maybe even shared your intentions out loud to the world. But here's the real question. How much of what you dreamed about has actually been turned into reality? How many of those grand goals have materialized? How much closer are you right now, this very day, to that future you said you wanted 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago? If the honest answer is not much, then the truth may be hard to swallow, but it's necessary. It's not because you aren't smart enough. It's not because you don't care. It's not because you lack vision or talent or the hunger to achieve something extraordinary. It's because you haven't been executing at the level required to win. Execution is where 99% of people fall. It's the line that separates dreamers from doers. And yet, most people convince themselves they're making progress because they're busy. They're reading the books, watching the videos, planning, organizing, talking about strategy. But none of that moves the needle unless it leads to relentless, purposeful action. That's the lie most people live in. They mistake movement for progress. They stay stuck in preparation mode, endlessly priming, but never launching. And slowly, their goals become distant shadows of what could have been. The ultra-successful? They don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They don't drown in thought. They don't wait until every variable is accounted for. They move. They act. They execute with a level of obsession most people are unwilling to sustain. And because of that, they get results in months that others spend years chasing. This chapter isn't about working harder. It's not about hustling for the sake of hustle. It's about rewiring the way you think about action. It's about transforming from someone who hopes things will change into someone who makes them change, because relentless execution becomes a part of who you are. There are patterns, dangerous ones, that keep most people frozen. These patterns feel productive. They give the illusion of effort, but they steal your time and delay your destiny. The first is what I call the learning loop. It sounds noble. You want to learn more before you begin. Just one more book, one more podcast, one more course. But what happens is you get addicted to information and allergic to action. You convince yourself that the next insight will be the one that finally unlocks it all. But it never comes. Because the real learning doesn't happen when you study. It happens when you move, when you try, when you fail, when you adjust. So stop convincing yourself that you're preparing. If you haven't acted, you haven't started. Then comes the trap of perfectionism, the belief that you can't take the first step until everything is flawless. You won't launch until the website looks amazing. You won't post because your content isn't polished. You won't move forward because the vision hasn't clicked perfectly into place. But perfection is a lie, a seductive one. It keeps you frozen in fear while convincing you it's just caution. The truth is, nothing will ever be perfect. And the people who win, they start messy. They refine on the go. They adjust while already in motion. And perhaps the most paralyzing of all is distraction. The phone buzzes, the inbox pings, a friend texts, a notification lights up. You tell yourself you'll just check for a second, and before you know it, 30 minutes are gone. You sit down to work, and your brain craves stimulation like a drug. So you scroll, you browse, you watch, and execution dies right there, not with a crash, but with a whimper. Your attention is being auctioned off to the highest bidder, and if you don't take control of it, you won't just lose your focus, you'll lose your edge. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. Relentless execution is a mindset, but it's also a system, a way of living and working that removes the need for constant motivation. It's not about willpower, it's about structure. Systems don't care how you feel. Systems don't need hype. They just work, day after day, hour after hour, until the results show up and the world begins to notice. It begins with a principle called ruthless prioritization. Not everything on your to-do list deserves your time. Most of it is noise, disguised busy work. You have to become obsessed with finding the few actions, the vital 20% that create the greatest outcome. When you focus only on the tasks that actually build momentum, your progress multiplies. Ask yourself every morning, if I only got one thing done today, what would change everything if I finished it? And then go do that. First, no delays. The next piece is something simple, but non-negotiable. No 0 days. The idea is this: you never let a single day pass without doing something to move your mission forward. Even if it's just 10 minutes, even if it's a single call, even if it's a few lines in your journal or 10 push-ups on the floor. Because the moment you stop completely, the friction to start again multiplies. But if you never let the chain break, if you always do something, momentum stays alive, and momentum is everything. Then comes time blocking. The mistake most people make is trying to find time for their goals. You don't find time. You make it. You carve it out. You protect it like your life depends on it. You don't write your goals on a list. You schedule them into your calendar. Deep work becomes an appointment you can't cancel. You silence your phone, close the tabs, shut the door, and do the damn work. No interruptions. No excuses. Just you, the task, and a timer. And if starting is the hardest part for you, here's your secret weapon. The 2-minute rule. Tell yourself, I'm just going to do this for 2 minutes. That's it. No pressure. No overwhelm. Just start. Because the hardest part isn't the work, it's the beginning. But once you begin, the resistance loses its grip. Action takes over, and 2 minutes turns into 10, then 20, then done. Finally, build a morning routine that primes you for execution. The first hour of your day writes the script for everything that follows. Wake up, move your body, clarify your goals, and hit the ground running. Don't reach for your phone. Don't drown in the world's noise before you've centered yourself in your mission. Make the morning yours, and the rest of the day bends to your will. But even with all this, There will be days when it's hard, when you feel off, when the fire fades, when you question whether it's all worth it. That's when the average person quits. But that's also when you get to choose what kind of person you're becoming. Because discipline isn't just something you have, it's something you build in the exact moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. Those hard days, they're not setbacks, they're tests. And every time you push through, you forge an identity that says, I'm not someone who gives up. You start to believe it. And eventually, others do too. This is the secret of relentless execution. Not just the habit of action, but the identity of an executor. Someone who doesn't just talk, who doesn't just plan, who moves, who acts, who finishes. And when you become that person, you don't chase opportunities. They come looking for you. Because in a world full of people who hesitate, the one who executes always stands out. This is your moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. This is the moment you stop preparing and start producing. This is the moment you stop living in potential and start living in motion. The world doesn't need another dreamer. It needs a doer. Someone who shows up again and again until the results scream so loudly that no one can ignore them. So take the next step. Not the perfect one, the next one. Because action is how the story changes. Your goals are waiting. Your legacy is waiting. But they won't wait forever. It's time to execute. Chapter 11, The Mental Toughness Blueprint, How to Build an Unbreakable Mindset That Guarantees Success. Let's have a brutally honest conversation. Most people fail, not because they lack intelligence, not because they don't have access to resources, and not even because they aren't trying hard. They fail for one simple, devastating reason. They are mentally fragile. The moment things become difficult, they fold. The second they encounter discomfort, they retreat. When results don't come fast enough, they abandon the mission. They let emotion override logic, fear override courage, and comfort override growth. And then they look around, year after year, at the gap between the life they imagined and the life they settled for. And they tell themselves stories. Stories that protect the ego but suffocate the potential. Stories like, I wasn't lucky, it wasn't the right time, or maybe it just wasn't meant to be. But you want the truth? Here it is. Success belongs to those who are mentally unbreakable. The ones who get punched in the mouth by life and keep moving forward. The ones who walk through hell and don't complain. The ones who learn to thrive under pressure, not just survive it. And if you want to join them, if you want to become part of the rare group that achieves the impossible, you need more than ambition. You need more than skill. You need mental toughness that's carved in steel and fire. Because life will test you. Goals will betray you. People will doubt you. Days will come when nothing makes sense, when everything inside screams quit. And when that moment arrives, and it will arrive, what separates the winners from the rest isn't talent. It's the voice in their head that says, I keep going anyway. So if you're tired of quitting early, if you're sick of being thrown off course by every storm, then this chapter is your blueprint. By the time you finish, you'll not only know how to build resilience, you'll feel it rising inside you. But first, we need to confront the mindset that's holding you back. The average person lives inside a mental cage built from 3 silent destroyers, 3 beliefs that kill potential before it even takes its first breath. The first destroyer is the addiction to comfort. Most people crave ease. They want smooth paths, instant results, guaranteed outcomes, but nothing worth having comes without pain. Growth comes dressed in discomfort. Success walks hand in hand with struggle, and the strongest people aren't those who had it easiest. They're the ones who suffered, stumbled, and kept showing up anyway. The second destroyer is emotional dependency. The weak move only when they feel like it. If they're tired, they skip. If they're afraid, they delay. If they're uncomfortable, they retreat. But success doesn't care about your mood. It responds only to action. It doesn't ask if you're in the right headspace. It rewards the person who moves forward regardless. And the third? They shatter under pressure. When chaos comes, and it always comes, they point fingers, blame the world, fall apart. But the mentally tough take a breath, square their shoulders, and say, this is mine to face. I don't run from storms. I walk through them. If you've lived in any of those patterns, it's time to shatter them. Because mental toughness isn't something you inherit, it's something you build. And how do you build it? You begin by changing how you relate to pain. The weak complain about pain. The strong train in it. Pain is a forge. It breaks the uncommitted, but sharpens the committed into something powerful. So the next time you feel discomfort, physical, mental, emotional, don't run. Lean in. Say, this is where strength is made. Then comes the mind, the most powerful tool you have, or your worst enemy. Every thought you allow to take root becomes a command to your subconscious. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, your actions will prove you right. But when you say, I rise through challenge, I thrive under pressure, I am built for the hard stuff, your actions follow that script instead. You have to become the guardian of your internal dialogue. When negativity enters, replace it, not with empty affirmations, but with powerful truths. Tell yourself the truth you want to live out. Make your thoughts obey your vision, not your fear. Now here's the part most people will never do, but you must. Intentionally seek difficulty. Don't wait for life to test you. Test yourself daily. Put yourself in cold, uncomfortable, inconvenient situations. Not because you have to, but because it trains your nervous system to stay calm in chaos. Wake up early when your body screams no. Push your body when your mind says stop. Take on projects that scare you. Build a habit of choosing the harder path, because each time you do, you become mentally harder to break. And finally, perhaps most important of all, you must shape your identity. Your self-concept determines your behavior. The people who are mentally unshakable don't just act tough, they believe they are tough. They don't just show grit, they identify as someone who always finishes what they start. And so should you. Wake up each day and remind yourself, I am someone who never quits. I don't flinch. I don't fold. I fight through the fire because that's who I am. Say it. Believe it. Live it. Because once your identity aligns with resilience, your behavior follows without resistance. But mental toughness isn't about chasing hardship for hardship's sake. It's about what happens when life doesn't go according to plan. And life will hit you. Hard. There will be heartbreak, loss, disappointment, betrayal. You'll question your path. You'll feel like you failed. And in those moments, your character is revealed. The fragile, they collapse. They spiral. They make pain their prison. The tough, they stand back up. They wipe the tears, reset their focus, and say, this is part of the story, not the end of it. Mental toughness is the ability to keep writing when the pages get heavy, when your dreams feel distant, when no one's clapping, when progress feels invisible. That's when toughness matters most. So the next time life tries to break you, remember this. You were built for this. The fire wasn't sent to destroy you, it was sent to reveal you. There are two kinds of people in this world. One group lets pain define them. They quit, they blame, they tell stories about what might have been. They spend their lives haunted by the goals they abandoned. But the other group, they rise, they fall, and get back up. They turn obstacles into fuel. They carve strength out of suffering. They don't fold, and they don't beg life to go easy. They get tougher, and because of that, they win. The only question left is, which one are you becoming? Your answer isn't in your words, it's in what you do the next time life hits you. Make that moment count. Be unbreakable. Chapter 12, The Relentless Pursuit of Mastery. How to become the best at what you do and dominate your field. Let's cut through the noise. Let's say out loud what most people are afraid to admit. The majority of people will spend their lives circling potential without ever entering it. They'll be average at nearly everything they do, not because they're not talented or capable, but because they never commit. They dabble, dip in and out, sample different paths, and chase novelty. But they never stay long enough in the fire to be forged by it. Never go deep enough to discover who they could become on the other side of pain, repetition, and obsession. And so they float, from project to project, from goal to goal, from one moment of motivation to the next, never mastering anything, never becoming unforgettable. But mastery doesn't belong to those who float. It belongs to those who plant their feet, drive their roots deep into one thing, and refuse to be moved. Think about the people who are at the very top of their fields, the names that need no introduction, the ones who changed the standard by which others are measured. Michael Jordan, Elon Musk, Beyonce, Steve Jobs. These people didn't dabble. They weren't driven by short bursts of inspiration. They weren't addicted to starting over. They made a decision, a real one. and they backed it with daily sacrifice, ruthless discipline, and an obsessive pursuit of mastery. They didn't just learn enough to get by. They went further than anyone else was willing to go. They peeled back layer after layer of their craft until they understood it at a molecular level. They turned repetition into art. They found excellence in the mundane. They were willing to do what others wouldn't for years without applause because they understood something most people never grasp. Mastery is a choice. It's not luck. It's not a lightning strike. It's not something that visits you if you wait patiently. It's earned. And here's the harsh truth. If you're not willing to put in the level of effort that 99% of people won't, then you'll be exactly where they are, unremarkable, replaceable, and deeply frustrated. The reason you haven't reached your full potential isn't because you're broken. It's because you haven't gone deep enough. You haven't stayed long enough. You haven't made the decision to truly master something. But that can change, right now. This is your roadmap, not just to get better, but to become so skilled, so undeniable, so locked in that the world can't ignore you. But you need to understand what you're stepping into. Mastery is brutal. It's repetitive. It's lonely. It's thankless for a long time. It requires you to show up when no one's watching, to practice the same movement, idea, technique thousands of times, not for perfection, but for automatic excellence. It requires patience so deep it looks like insanity from the outside. Most people don't have the stomach for it. In a world obsessed with convenience and speed, most would rather look good in the moment than be great for life. They crave results, but can't stomach repetition. They chase recognition, but avoid refinement. They want success, but reject the slow grind that builds it. So they remain stuck, wishing, hoping, starting, stopping. But you're still listening. You're still here, which means there's something in you that knows you were built for more. You're not afraid of hard. You're afraid of never becoming who you were meant to be. And that fear, that refusal to settle, is your edge. It's the thing that separates you from the many. But now you have to prove it, not with words, with action, with consistency, with discipline. That's how mastery begins. Not with talent, not with passion, with choice. And once you choose, you eliminate, you cut away distractions. You let go of the hobbies and habits that don't align with your obsession. You stop explaining your focus to people who don't get it. You reorganize your life around your mission. Because when you're committed to greatness, compromise becomes the enemy. And then you begin to build, not quickly, not glamorously, but methodically. You study the fundamentals over and over until they become instinct. You drill the boring parts. You embrace monotony because you understand that every hour spent in the basics is one more brick in your foundation. And from that foundation, you go beyond. You study the best in your field, not to mimic, but to measure. You analyze what's been done, not to replicate, but to surpass. You don't just want to be good. You want to be the best that's ever done it. So you craft a training routine, one that doesn't rely on how you feel, one that doesn't ask if you're motivated, one that shows up when you do. You attack your weaknesses, not because it's fun, but because that's where the gold is buried. You seek out criticism, not for validation, but for evolution. And even when you hit new levels, even when people start to notice, you don't stop. You don't settle. You don't tell yourself you've made it. You wake up the next day like you're still the underdog. You treat every day like day one. Because the greatest danger in mastery isn't failure, it's comfort. The moment you relax is the moment you begin to fall. So you build a new habit, one that separates you forever. You never stop improving. Every day you ask, what did I sharpen today? Where did I grow? How can I stretch further tomorrow? And in that mindset, in that daily hunger, you become something few ever do, undeniable. Because mastery doesn't just change your results, it transforms your identity. You stop being someone who tries. You become someone who executes. You stop hoping to be good enough. You start becoming someone who rewrites the standard. This is the transformation, from dabbler to dominator, from curious to committed, from average to elite. But none of this will happen by accident. It only happens when you decide that this craft, this mission, this calling is worth your life. And if you still have any doubt, let me remind you, you were not born to be average. You were not created to blend in. You were not designed to dabble and drift. You were built to go deep, to choose something, Commit to it, bleed for it, and become undeniably great at it. You know it. You've always known it. Now it's time to live it. This is your turning point. No more flirting with potential. No more chasing 10 things and finishing none. No more waiting for the right time. You want to dominate your craft? Then start showing up like someone who's already made the decision. Obsess, repeat, sacrifice. Get so good they can't look away. Mastery is calling, and it won't wait forever. Answer with action. Answer with fire, and never turn back. Chapter 13. The 1% Rule, How Small Daily Improvements Make You Unstoppable. What if everything you believed about success, the overnight breakthroughs, the grand gestures, the massive leaps, wasn't just incomplete but entirely misleading? What if the people you admire most, the elite 1% who seem to operate on another level in business, sports, science, or creativity, didn't arrive there because of some magical moment, but because they mastered something far less dramatic? The truth is, they did. Their greatness wasn't built on a single lucky break or an extraordinary day. It was forged in the furnace of consistency, repetition, and the quiet, steady commitment to doing just a little better than yesterday. This is the heart of the 1% rule, the idea that improving by just 1% every day compounds into a transformation so profound it becomes almost supernatural. But because it's simple, most people ignore it. They overlook the power of slow, steady growth because it doesn't give them the instant rush. They want fireworks, not firewood. They want results they can post online, not routines they must grind through alone. But here's what they don't see. Greatness is rarely loud. It is quiet, daily, unshakable discipline. Think of the legends, the Kobe Bryants, the Maya Angelou's, the Warren Buffetts. They weren't born at the finish line. They didn't arrive fully formed. They got there by showing up day after day, long before the world noticed, long after the excitement wore off. While others slept in, they trained. While others chased trends, they sharpened fundamentals. While others waited for motivation, they relied on systems. And over time, that commitment compounded into mastery. Let's pause here and consider this. Improving by just 1% each day for a year doesn't make you twice as good. It makes you 37 times better. That's the power of compounding. It's not linear, it's exponential. And yet, almost everyone misses it. Why? Because we're conditioned to crave speed. We want transformation in a weekend, a new body in 30 days, a six-figure income by the end of the quarter. So we go big until we burn out. We sprint on January 1st, but we're walking or quitting by February. We underestimate the grind and overestimate our stamina. That's why motivation fails. That's why willpower crumbles. But the 1% rule doesn't ask for fireworks. It asks for fire, the slow burn, the steady heat, the decision to stay in the game, even when progress is invisible. Let's imagine two people starting the same journey. Person A goes all in, full throttle, demanding results fast. Person B just tries to get 1% better each day. After a week, A looks ahead. B looks insignificant. After a month, A might still seem ahead. But check again after 6 months, a year, 5 years. B has become a different human. A is exhausted, frustrated, stuck in a cycle of false starts. That's the brutal, beautiful truth. What looks slow at first eventually outruns everything else. If you internalize this idea, if you let it soak into your bones, you will never look at success the same way again. You'll stop chasing finish lines and start building systems. You'll stop burning out and start leveling up. And most importantly, you'll stop asking, how fast can I get there? And start asking, how long can I keep this going? Because in the long run, the tortoise always wins, if he's consistent. Now let's dig into what makes this principle not just philosophy, but science-backed strategy. The idea that small improvements add up might sound poetic, but it's backed by the same mathematics that governs compound interest in finance. If you invest $100 and it grows by 1% every day, you don't just earn $1 each day, you earn interest on the interest. Day by day, the growth curve bends upward, sharply. By the end of the year, your $100 isn't $365, it's over $3,700. That same curve applies to your habits, your skills, your relationships, your mindset. Every small win builds on the last. Every repetition lays another brick. Every decision to stay the course while others quit widens the gap. One push-up becomes 10. One cold call becomes a sales empire. One uncomfortable conversation becomes a legacy of leadership. The gains seem tiny until they don't. Then one day, people look at you and say, "How did you get so good?" And you'll know. Quietly, you'll know. It wasn't a big moment. It was 1,000 small ones, invisible to everyone else, undeniable to you. Here's the hard truth. Most people never apply the 1% rule because it's not sexy. It's not dramatic. It doesn't make headlines. It demands patience in a world that glorifies urgency. And most people don't just lack discipline. They reject it. They jump from goal to goal like stones across a pond, never sinking into the work, never embracing the boredom of excellence. They expect results after 3 days. They quit when they're sore. They back off when progress isn't viral. And so they stay where they are, stuck in a loop of good intentions and weak execution. They don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they stop. They stop too soon. They never gave consistency a chance to reveal its compounding power. But that's not you. If you're still listening, then something in you refuses to settle. You felt the difference between fleeting inspiration and durable transformation, and you're ready to do what most won't. Commit, not for a week, but for a year. Not for applause, but for mastery. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. Let's talk about how this works in real life. Not theory, not hype, but application. You don't need to revamp your world overnight. You need to choose one arena, one behavior, one identity shift, and go all in. 1% a day in the right direction turns a whisper of progress into a roar of momentum. Say you want to be a writer. You don't need to write a novel this month. Start with a paragraph. Write 50 words a day. Every day. No 0 days. It feels like nothing until it becomes everything. One day, those words become your voice. That voice becomes your style. That style becomes your story. And your story becomes your gift to the world. Say you want to change your health. Don't starve. Don't sprint. Walk. Drink more water. Eat one clean meal. Build the identity of someone who honors their body. Then reinforce it. Every day. You're not trying to shock your system. You're trying to rewire it. Say you want to build wealth. Don't worry about making millions this year. Learn. Save. Invest small. Study the market. Ask questions. The real asset isn't your bank account. It's your consistency. 1% is more than a number. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset that says, I'll win, not by force, but by faithfulness. It's the habit of showing up when no one's watching, of improving in silence, of letting your results whisper louder than your excuses scream. You don't wait for momentum, you build it. One day of consistency turns into two. Two turns into a week. A week becomes a rhythm. That rhythm rewrites your identity. At first, your effort feels invisible, but then it becomes undeniable. Others will notice. You'll feel it in your energy, your mood, your confidence. You'll start to expect more from yourself. Not because someone told you to, but because you've tasted growth. And once you taste it, you don't go back. Momentum compounds like wealth. The more you have, the easier it is to create more. And here's the beauty. It doesn't depend on talent. It doesn't require genius. It rewards the one who doesn't stop. The next 12 months will come and go whether you act or not. The only question is, who will you be 365 days from now? Someone who started and stopped again? Or someone who chose to get 1% better every single day, no matter what? Imagine where you could be. Imagine the version of yourself that wakes up proud, that speaks with clarity, that moves with purpose, that has habits so deeply ingrained they feel like gravity. That version of you isn't a fantasy. It's just a few dozen decisions away. Decide today to build that version. Not with drama, not with burnout, with the quiet, radical courage to stay in motion, to show up daily, to improve even when no one claps. There's a version of you out there, sharper, stronger, clearer, more alive than anything you've ever known. That version is not a dream, it's a direction. And every day you have a choice. Drift further from it or move 1% closer. That's it, that's the game. Not perfection, not revolution. Just progress, tiny, intentional, beautiful progress. Inch by inch until one day the world looks up and sees someone unstoppable. And you'll know that someone is you. So don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't chase another shortcut. Build the habit, start the streak, win the day, then do it again tomorrow and the day after and again. Because 1% isn't just how you improve, it's how you win your life. Chapter 14, The Ultimate Competitive Edge. Let's be brutally honest for a moment. You've come this far. You've absorbed the principles, the mindset shifts, and the strategies that separate the top 1% from the rest. But here's a harsh reality most people never understand. Getting ahead in life is one thing, but staying ahead is what truly separates the great from the forgotten. Look around. How many people have tasted success only to fall back into mediocrity? Athletes who dominated for a season, then vanished. Entrepreneurs who built million-dollar businesses, then lost it all. Creators who exploded in popularity, then faded into irrelevance. The world is full of people who made it once, but couldn't sustain it. Why? Because they got comfortable. They stopped doing the things that made them successful in the first place. They hit a level of achievement and thought, I've made it. And that's when they started to decline. They stopped learning. They stopped pushing themselves. They stopped improving. If you don't want to be another one of those temporary success stories, if you want to stay ahead of 99% of people for the rest of your life, you need to understand this. Complacency is the enemy. The second you stop growing, you start dying. This final chapter is not just about winning the game of success. It's about staying at the top. It's about becoming the kind of person who never fades, never slows down, and never stops leveling up. If you apply what I'm about to share, you will never have to worry about falling behind, losing momentum, or becoming irrelevant. Because true success isn't about reaching the top. It's about staying there. The number one reason why people lose their edge, the biggest mistake people make after achieving success, is shifting their mindset from growth to maintenance. Instead of playing to win, they start playing not to lose. Instead of innovating, they get comfortable with their past achievements. Instead of staying hungry, they settle into autopilot mode. And then, slowly but surely, they start falling behind. Look at the most dominant figures in any industry. The athletes who stay on top for decades, the billionaires who build multiple empires, the thinkers who remain relevant generation after generation. What do they all have in common? They never stop reinventing themselves. LeBron James didn't stay at the top for 20 years by relying on talent. He kept adapting, evolving his game, improving his body, and outworking younger competitors. Elon Musk didn't stop after PayPal. He kept pushing into electric cars, rockets, AI, and beyond. Warren Buffett didn't stop learning after he became a millionaire. Even in his 90s, he still reads for hours every day. They never got comfortable. They never stopped growing, and that's why they never lost their edge. If you want to stay ahead of 99% of people, you must treat every day like you're still climbing, even when you've already reached the top. The forever student mindset is how to keep growing, no matter how successful you become. The moment you think you know it all, you've already started to lose. The moment you believe you've mastered your field, you've already fallen behind. The key to staying ahead of 99% of people for life is to never stop learning, never stop evolving, and never stop challenging yourself. How do you do this? By adopting the forever student mindset. Stay curious. The most successful people are the most curious. They ask questions. They challenge the status quo. They never assume they have all the answers. Surround yourself with people who challenge you. If you're always the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You need mentors, peers, and even competitors who push you beyond your comfort zone. Never rely on yesterday's success. What worked for you last year might not work today. The world is always changing, and you need to change with it. Embrace discomfort. Growth only happens when you are outside your comfort zone. The moment things start feeling easy, it's time to push yourself harder. The greats never stop being students of the game. If you want to stay ahead forever, you must commit to learning forever. The discipline of high performers is how to maintain ruthless consistency for life. Most people can work hard for a few months. Some can even grind for a few years. But very few people can maintain insane levels of discipline for life. And that is exactly why they fade into mediocrity. The top 1% are relentless. They have routines, habits, and systems in place that keep them sharp no matter how successful they get. The non-negotiable habits of lifelong high performers? The relentless daily routine. The most successful people do not rely on motivation. They have systems that force them to stay disciplined. The 80-20 rule. They focus on the few key activities that produce the biggest results and eliminate distractions ruthlessly. The mental toughness edge. They know that emotions are temporary, so they don't make decisions based on how they feel. They stick to the plan no matter what. The power of reflection. Every week, every month, they analyze their progress, adjust their strategies, and find ways to improve. If you want to stay ahead, you need ruthless consistency. Not for a few weeks, not for a few years, for life. At the end of the day, staying ahead of 99% of people isn't about tricks, hacks, or temporary motivation. It's about one thing: who are you becoming every single day? Success is not a goal. It is a lifestyle. It is not something you achieve once. It is something you live, breathe, and embody every single day. So ask yourself, are you constantly pushing your limits or settling for what's comfortable? Are you waking up hungry for more or getting complacent with past success? Are you becoming the best version of yourself every day, or are you letting yourself slip? The hard truth is that success isn't something you can win once and keep forever. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. If you're not improving, someone else is. So what's next for you? You've come to the end of this book. You now have all the tools to think, act, and dominate like the top 1%. But reading this isn't enough. You have to execute. You have to commit. You have to prove to yourself that you are one of the rare few who will actually apply what they've learned. Most people will close this book and go back to their old habits. Will you? Or will you use this knowledge to build a life so legendary that 99% of people will look at you and wonder how you did it? The choice is yours. But remember this: the greatest never stop. Neither should you. Now go become unstoppable. And now, here you are, standing at the edge of the extraordinary. You've listened, reflected, absorbed every principle that separates the forgotten from the forever great. But make no mistake, knowledge means nothing if you don't act on it. You can't just admire the mountain, you have to climb it. You have to show up every day, not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, but because you've decided that becoming average is no longer an option. You were never meant to live a life of quiet regret. You were never built for mediocrity. You were meant to lead, to build, to create, to leave behind something so rare that people whisper your name when they speak of greatness. And that starts now, not next week, not tomorrow. Now. Will you be the one who fades away quietly, or will you be the one who rises again and again, never settling, never slowing, always becoming? You already know the answer. So go. Take that step. Do the hard thing. Show the world and yourself what it looks like to live at 100%. Stay hungry, stay driven, stay becoming. And if you ever need a reminder of what you're capable of, come back here. Revisit this chapter, revisit this voice. This isn't just a book, this is your turning point. And don't forget, subscribe to Booksounds, Better You, where we turn mindset into mastery, one chapter at a time. New episodes drop every week, because growth doesn't stop, and neither should you. Now close this chapter and go become unstoppable.